Don't start barking as soon as I go live. All right. Hello, gentlemen. Armchair updates. Week 7 recap. Some fun stuff to talk about. Immediately, I want to just take a look at the Week 7 standings. Make those a little bigger. So some fun stuff just in the standings. The Royals going 3-0. Like to see a team that's been struggling pick up not only a couple wins, but 3 in an undefeated week. I will mention the rest of the undefeateds. Good to see Boston picking up 2 wins and the league's first tie with Blue Jay Mark. Scoring change to Josh Sborz turned an error into a hit, or a hit into an error. I don't recall exactly, but the first tie in ABL history, week 7, 289.167 points, somewhere around there. We'll look at it in a second. But so yeah, names in the history books: Red Sox Don, Blue Jays Mark, first tie. Congratulations. I know Mark was very upset about nearly taking that loss, and then the luck turned around and he's able to go 1-1-1 on the week. And the Red Sox, instead of a nice 3-0, it would have been kind of cool to see the Red Sox and the Royals both go 3-0. But he does pick up a 2-0-1 mark on the week. So pretty good. The rest of your high points for the week: the Marlins, 4-0 for the Marlins on the week. Tony continues to confound expectations. I don't know when it's going to be time to say Tom Brady is this good. It's not just Belichick. It's not just luck. It's not just scheduling, whatever you want to call it. He scored a lot of points this week, and he once again goes 4-0. The Dodgers, stop me if you've heard this one, 3-0. The Pirates go 3-0. The Mariners go 3-0. The Cardinals go 3-0. Pretty much the same thing week in and week out for these guys. The Padres go 2-0. The Angels, again, I shit on them a couple weeks ago. The Angels go 2-0. Adam, who's consistently down on his own team, down and out Adam. Phillies go 3-0 again in week 7. So the Phillies and Marlins, we can have some great divisional rivalries, a lot of which myself and whoever else I talked to in the preseason stuff, we kind of predicted the Dodger Padre rivalry and especially the Pittsburgh St. Louis rivalry and the White Sox Tigers. What nobody said was Phillies Marlins, but Phillies Marlins is so far been a fun back and forth to follow in the East, where the NL East looks tough at the top, but then you have a very injured Braves team, admittedly now tearing down a bit and rebuilding Nats team. So I feel like the East is still pretty wide open. Those guys are duking it out. Adam seems to think it's all going to come crashing down any minute, and maybe he's continuing to confound his own expectations. The Mets, I don't expect to. The Mets went 0-3. I think they've maybe had some injury stuff. Yeah, like quite a few guys with red flags here. He just had Pilar go down, Luke Weaver, Seth Lugo. The Mets will probably be in that lower half of that division, but yeah, a lot of guys going undefeated again this week, including a couple teams that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see up there. Nice to see the Royals and the Red Sox, and again the damn Angels, man. They just keep sticking it to me after I shit on them a little bit. Your middle of the road guys, a few teams. Mark goes 1-1-1. The Blue Jays, the Cubs go 1-1. The D-backs go 1-1. The Nats go 1-1. The White Sox, another real tough week, going 1-2. And Sam's Rangers had a rather tough week, going 1-2. And I'll get to it in a minute, but Texas was actually second on the week in points per game. He scored 4.85, but he only did it with 56 games. So you can see that you can have a great average scoring week and then still have a rough scheduling week, as the Rangers go 1-2, putting up, I think, probably definitely their best point per game of the week, maybe their best overall points. It was I think he landed somewhere in the hitting or pitching. No, just points per game. So he kind of did it overall. Brewers 1-2, Orioles, Reds, Giants 1-2, and then we get into the dregs. The Braves took a very tough 0-4, and I say dregs, jokingly. My team, I was the lowest scoring team of the week. I could have faced anybody but myself, and I would have lost. So I thank the schedule gods a little bit that I only played 2 matches. So I had my shittiest week of the year. I only go 0-2. The Braves have a bad week. They went 0-4. So, in Oakland, Houston, the Yankees go 0-3. Kind of tough, probably some tough scheduling there. The Tigers go 0-2. Definitely some tough scheduling because we know how good the Tigers team are. Cleveland, the Mets go 0-3, and then the Rays and I also go 0-2. So I am thankful that I had the worst week. I look at my combined score, 314, 667 in my 2 matchups. It was a terrible score. Now, everybody slaughtered me. The Nats, 394, I think, were the second lowest score and still beat me by 80 points. So I just an abysmally – the week I trade 2-star Garrett Cole, I traded him on a Monday and paid the price. But I honestly don't think Garrett Cole starts would have propelled me to any victory. So very bad week for the Rockies. Glad to go only 0-2 and kick the Braves while he's down a little bit. He has a bad week, goes 0-4. The A's just lost Ozuna to injury. Kind of plan on maybe I'm going to do a show with Tony, go over some trades, and then go over some bad luck teams. Blue Jay Mark kind of got me looking at not just his and my own. I'm always looking at my own, but some other teams. The A's on that list, the Braves on that list, maybe the D-backs on that list. Some kind of real tough luck. Mostly injury-wise, I guess. I'm not going to go pick apart the entire schedule and say, oh, this guy would have won if he was matched up against X amount of other teams. I don't have the patience to do that. I don't think. I mean, I guess I could. I don't have much going on, but All right, so let's get into the actual week now. The numbers for week 7, if I can bring that up momentarily. Yeah, really, really quite fortunate of me to have as bad a week as I did and then only go 0-2. So I'm not disappointed. I mean, you never want to have that bad of a week, Jesus. But all right, let's take a look at who are a lot of the usual suspects up at the top of the list that we're used to seeing. And I think maybe after week 10, kind of arbitrary, but after week 10, I think I'm going to try to go through and tally up how many times each team has shown up on some of these lists, like the big blowout lists or the slim win lists and stuff. I'm kind of curious because I know we keep seeing a lot of the same, or it feels like at least we keep seeing a lot of the same teams show up there, but I want to see how often they actually are. I'll have to sit and pour through those. Actually, you know what? Some of my early notes might have got tossed by the old wife earlier this morning. And might not be able to do that. That might all be for naught. Shit. All right. She knows not to throw stuff away on my desk, man. It kind of looks like garbage. It kind of looks like garbage, but maybe it just got put somewhere. All right, back on track here. Let's make this full screen. All right. So your week 7, your biggest blowouts. The Dodgers showing up twice on the list. I know I've said that before. Your biggest win margin of the week was actually smaller than most weeks. I feel like that might be the smallest biggest margin that we've had yet. Over the Giants, 169 nice 0.333 points. Your number 2, the St. Louis Cardinals over the Mets, 151.667 points. Number 3, San Diego Padres over the Rockies, who are showing up. Both of my matchups this week showing up on the biggest ass-kicking list. Number 3, San Diego over my Rockies, 134.334 points. Then the Dodgers again over the Rays. Kind of surprising. The Rays were really hot for a couple weeks, but have had an off couple weeks lately. 129.166 points is your number 4 biggest margin of the week. And number 5, Tony's Marlins over my Rockies, 125.5 points. So, that's kind of the theme of the week was, at least for me, was how bad my own team was. Not only do I, go 0-2, score the fewest points of anybody in the week, but I also really got my ass kicked. Not like I even made it close with anybody. That's why I said two-start Cole was not going to help me. Well, I lost by 125 and 134 points. So even two-start Cole probably wasn't going to do it for me. So from your number 5 biggest margin, Miami over Colorado, to your number 1 smallest margin, Miami, again, over the Cubs, 2.166 points. The 2 most common trade partners of the league also have a real back and forth match in week 7 that is decided by, a double and an RBI or a few base hits, 2.166 points. Number 2, the Angels over the Texas. So tough luck for Sam there. He did show up on one of these lists. I was looking at top hitting, top pitching, but he's number 2 in points per game, but still had a very slim loss to the Angels, 3.166 points. So only 1 point separating number 1 and number 2. And then less than a point separating 2 and 3, Arizona over the Razor, another razor-thin matchup for Rays Astros, 4 points. So your first 3 small margin matchups decided by 4 points or fewer this week. I actually went to 6 because there were 6 matchups in that single-digit range. Number 4, Seattle Seth over Detroit. So a very tough 0-2 for the Tigers, and one of those games decided by 7.166 points. Down goes the King. Down goes Frazier. Detroit John taking not 1 loss but 2 this week. So no more undefeated teams in the ABL. And I do think that we might still have a winless team. If I'm not mistaken, is Cleveland still? So Cleveland is still trying to crawl his way out of the muck and get that W. And I know he has had some level of injury. Yes. Oh, man, yeah. So he's got a lot of pitchers on the – so maybe I will add Cleveland to that list. It's hard to go 0-20 without some bad luck. So Cleveland can be added to my bad luck list for the Tony Show. Where the hell was I? Oh, yeah. So your number 5 smallest margin, Milwaukee over Arizona. So Arizona has a win in the smallest margin over Houston, and then he has a loss in the smallest margin against Milwaukee by 7.667 points. And then to go to number 6 this week, because there's another one, KC over Baltimore. So one of Kansas City's 3 wins on the week was a fairly slim one, 8.666 points over Randy's Orioles. So 6 matchups decided by 10 or fewer points. And then I believe the Tigers' second loss was like 10.5 points. I know I wrote that down somewhere. So both of the Tigers' losses were by a combined, something like 17.5, 18 points. And that's both losses combined. You see number 4 there, 7.166. I think his other one was 10.5 exactly. So a couple tough losses for the Tigers. They could very well still be undefeated if it weren't for showing up on this list twice in the same week. He could easily be 19-0. And when you look at his point differential total, 7,000, a little over 7,000 points for, 5,250 allowed, he has crushed his competition. To put that in perspective, the bottom team, not to pick on Cleveland, but 3,363 points for, 5,922 allowed. So 700 more allowed than the Tigers, but 4,000, 3,800, give or take, fewer scored. The Tigers have not just gotten lucky. They are genuinely a great team. The Padres have only allowed 4,900 points, but have still scored 6,200. So they're not up there with the Cardinals, the Tigers, the Pirates, the Dodgers, but he's a pretty worthy 17-2. All of these guys up in the top of the standings. Maybe you get to Adam. Maybe you get to the 15-5 Phillies or the 15-5 Marlins, and they're in the low 6,000, 61-14, 60-25. Maybe you look at those guys and say, well, okay, they're 15-5. That's why they're not in that upper echelon. But all of those guys from Detroit, San Diego, Los Angeles, St. Louis, Seattle, Pittsburgh, those teams are all 17-3 or better. Well, there's a reason. These are all very good teams. And that shows up in the points per game, typically on a week per week. It does for the season, but look at week 7. A few really interesting teams popping into the point per game leaders for week 7. But the recurring theme in all three of those teams is that they had fewer than 60 games played. So the Dodgers, number 1, 5.16. That's a really nice week in 72 games, well over 5 points per game. Hell of a week for the Dodgers. And then Texas Sam, like we mentioned, the Rangers at 4.85, number 2 on the week, but only 56 games. And then number 3, Oakland, sneaking in to the top 5, 4.82, but only 55 games. And then Arizona sneaking into the top 5. Not teams we typically see there. 4.6 points per games for Arizona, but only 54 games. And then Detroit, a stalwart, 4.39 and in 68 games. So, Detroit had a tough week, but still a top 5 point per game team. And again, those 2 losses come at a combined, fewer than 18 points. Your hitting leader for week 7, the Dodgers at 218, just scraping ahead of last week's Phillies at 214. Number 2, Pittsburgh. Look at the consistency from the Duke. Pittsburgh, 204 hitting points in week 7 for the number 2 spot. Week 6, number 2 spot, Pittsburgh, 205 points. 204 this week, 205 last week. A mark of consistency for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Number 3, the Phillies at 201. So number 1 last week for the Phillies, 214. Number 3 this week, 201. So 200 plus hitting points is going to carry you to a top 5 typically in the week for hitting points. Number 4, Boston. So the 2 wins and the 1 tie with Mark looks like largely on the back of some good hitting, 197 hitting points compared to the number 4 spot last week, which was 184, so 13 better than the Dodgers last week. And the Dodgers, of course, number 1 this week. And then St. Louis, 194 points, beating out the number 5 spot last week of 165 by quite a bit. So your top 5 hitting was a little bit better this week in week 7, we can say. Your number 4 spot, quite a bit better than last week's number 4. Your number 3, quite a bit better than last week's number 3. 1 and 2 didn't change much. And then number 5, quite a bit better, almost 30 points better, 29 points better than last week's number 5. Pitching for week 7, we're used to seeing the White Sox in there, and there they are at number 1, 190.5 points, which is about 20 points off week 6's mark set by the Dodgers, 209.17. Oakland. So Oakland's number 3 in points per game, and it looks like the pitching had a lot to do with that. Number 2 with 169. Very nice pitching points. Minnesota getting in there at number 3, 168 points, kind of on line with last week's number 3, which was the White Sox. So 3 last week, 1 this week for the Sox. He had 164.67 last week. Seattle, who I want to note has been 4th in pitching 3 weeks in a row, at least 3 weeks in a row. That was as far back as I was doing these spreadsheets. He had 162.83 last week, 167.833 in week 7. So the Mariners remarkably consistent. Duke with the hitting, Seth with the pitching. These guys are just camping out in the top 5. And Detroit rounding it out, 163.667, slightly better than the number 5 spot last week, which was St. Louis at 162.17. There have been some changes in the overall season-long point per game. St. Louis still planting his flag with a decent lead, and his lead is actually widened. So he dropped down a slight bit. Last week, St. Louis was at 4.37, end of week 6, I should say. End of week 7, he dropped down to 4.36. So not a significant drop, but a slight drop. But here's a significant drop. The White Sox stick in the number 2 spot, but he was at 4.29. Now he's at 4.19. So a little bit of a drop. San Diego was number 3 last week. They're kicked out of the top 5 entirely, replaced with the Dodgers, 4.17 points per game. Detroit makes it back into the top 5. So, yeah, the Dodgers were 4 last week. They're 3 this week. It's Detroit, actually, that supplanted the Padres. And Detroit slips into 4 at 4.16. And then Pittsburgh, again, the consistency of the Pirates. They were number 5 last week at 4.08. They're number 5 this week at 4.14. So we see an increase there. We saw an increase in the 4 spot from 4.10 to 4.16. And an increase in the 3 spot from 4.13 to 4.17, but a slight decrease at 1 and a decent decrease at 2. So a little bit of a difference. San Diego, you're out of here. Dodgers from 4 to 3. Pittsburgh stays at 5, and that's just your points per game per season. That is not power rankings. Maybe we'll get into the power rankings with Tony. We're going to break down some trades, break down some hard luck teams, perceived hard luck, whatever, mostly injuries. But that is your week 7. Stay tuned for Tony. Not sure exactly when. We got to get the schedules right. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will be back with week 8. Can I pop the oven on 375? Yeah. Be back with week 8. Rockies have 4 matchups this week, so let's hope. Let me hope. Let's I hope for not a terrible week. Got Nola going tonight. I would hate to go 4-0. I would hate to pull the Braves and go 4-0 or 0-4 rather. I would love to go 4-0. Don't think it's going to happen, but anything other than 0-4, I'll be satisfied with. Eliser had a minor league start yesterday. His second rehab minor league start, looking really good. No runs allowed so far in I think 7 2/3, 12 strikeouts, 2 walks. So Eliser may be coming back. I think Sixto's throwing from flat ground or something. Might have some guys coming back. No, Gallen throwing from flat ground. Might try a bullpen later this week. I don't know what to think of him, man. I feel like he's going to be one of these guys that pitches an inning and then bam, Tommy John. I don't know. I hope not. Yep. All right. Thanks for watching. See you next time.